Sarah Blackburn, and thank you for joining our Five Houses webinar about the Diamond Way business. I am thrilled to introduce Tim Lowenhaupt and John Brady, who will share with you some ways how to build wealth, freedom, and create impact. With that, I'm going to pass it over to our guests today. I hope you learn loads with Tim and John Brady.
All right. Hello.
Hi, Master Tim. How are you?
Hello.
Good to see you.
How are you? Good morning.
Yay, good morning. Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. where I am. Yeah.
So JB, I heard you had a phenomenal business talk yesterday with the group from Germany. And I think there's a deep overlap with what you were having yesterday and what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, it was it appeared to be very successful. I think it went down pretty well. I um I had Holger Wolf as my co-host, and he's a remarkable success story using our principles, and he really has something to say about his current situation and his history of his company, uh, which proves impermanence because at some juncture of his business, he's being quite challenged right now. So our subject matter changed at the last minute, and we really delivered, I think, something special. And so he would tee the questions up, and I would take the club and try to knock it into the audience. It was fun. We had a good time. Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, the same format we're going to use today. And what we want to talk with all of you about is, at the Five Houses, we're in a very exciting time as we're beginning to, I believe we're beginning to take the principles that JB and I are going to talk about today, and we're really putting them into practice of how we transform our organizations, how we transform how we reach new people and how we reach new audiences that they want these ideas, they just don't know where to find them yet. And we're supposed to talk about how the advanced teachings of the Diamond Way can help us reach things like wealth and some of our highest goals. But I think we're gonna kind of talk about what that means, but also what does it not mean? I think we're all attracted, JB. This is a question, my first question for you, JB, is I think we're all attracted to these ideas of basically the five primary goals of having financial independence and having good health and good relationships,
Yeah.
inner peace, and then helping the whole world. But we start with this idea of wealth, right? And what does that mean on a normal level, JB? And then maybe we can start gearing the conversation towards what does it mean on a more on a deeper level to have wealth. That's not just how big is your bank account.
Yeah. I'm kind of reminded of Geshe Michael used to teach something on Friday nights in New York called the Cookie Class.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this is kind of like the Diamond Way House cookie class in a way. We're
Mm.
warming up the audience to introduce a whole nother aspect of the aspects of the Buddhist teachings, which happens to be 50% of what he taught. And it's so exciting that this is upon you and ACI in the fifth house. So first, I want to thank you for inviting me. Um, the five goals is set up to, in a way, in a very skillful means to start at a common denominator of financial freedom and financial abundance. And the five goals basically get deeper into the evolution from, our sister worldview organization called DCI. In the sense of financial abundance, in the sense of financial security, in my mind, I feel it takes up so much mind space for people. And anywhere in our given circumstances of our time, the mental anxiety around financial stability or financial uh, anxiety is rampant. There's this hand-wringing time right now where people are coming to us and talking about, I can't even afford my apartment in New York City or Taipei, and I'm 29 years old and struggling to pay my bills. Uh, and it's just the state of the world right now in global free economies. And so, how do you approach that question from an open aspect of what you've already learned in the DCI, ACI world, but how do you approach that from a Diamond Way aspect? And you have to look at it both sides of the coin because we have foundational tools in another organization that function to bring people into the first question, financial security and a financial abundance. So we know the principles that are kind of 101 principles to do that. We have that. Um, but the missing part is igniting it into a real, immediate result, igniting it. What do you have to do to charge it? And from a perspective of an open Buddhist discussion, we talk about intention. You charge it with the intention and you charge it with this positive approach, knowing that the result you're creating at the very moment of a generation as or generous object. We do the $100 bill thing all over the world. Uh, and if there's a tinge of doubt, if there's a tinge of any aspect of non-belief in the correlation of cause and effect, it's going to lessen the result. And it could create a different time gap for you to receive that aspect of, an exponential result. But there's cliffs on that as well because people get attached to the result. And that's a whole other story that we could unpack. But what the Diamond Way can bring to myself when I practice the perfection of giving. Um, there's another component or another dimension that you can add to that. And it's more than coffee meditation to fertilize the seed in my mind. It's more than a 5 minute, perspective that we say can give that seed the fertilization so you don't have to wait until 2085 to see your abundance kick in.
Mhm.
And that's kind of fun for us to like unpack. How do you expedite results? How do you make it really function on a consistent basis for a mental space that doesn't worry about money because it takes up so much anxiety energy
Right.
and also creates more obstacles.
And JB, as a introduction, I think you teased a lot of cool ideas that we're going to unpack in the next 50 minutes here. Um, just to orient everybody a little bit more is one of the things that we're doing in the Diamond House of the five houses, and this is a new offering from our founder, Geshe Michael, is that we've created a pathway into Diamond House that is not following the traditional 18 courses. And I know many of you have studied those courses, so don't worry, you didn't waste your time.
Not at all.
Not at all. But what we're doing is over the next year, we have a little bit more of a year of preparation left, and then we're going to be jumping in. And so part of what we want to talk about is is what are those transformations we're going to start making, and then what kinds of results are you going to see from that,
Yeah.
and how do you get prepared, right? And I think JB, you offered a really interesting introduction here, where we have these needs, right? We have needs that create anxiety. We have needs that, you know, we need to pay our bills. We have to feed ourselves. We have to do all these things. We have to take care of our families. And then we get taught some techniques like the 4 steps, right? The 4 powers. We learn about how to increase the power of the seeds through raw karma. Right? We learn all of these techniques. We learn all of the things of meditation and intention and motivation. So you teased it, but I wanted to go a little deeper into it, JB. What happens when we move into Diamond Way? Like, do all these things we learned before just go away? Like, do we say, oh, we're not going to do that anymore? We have all these new secret practices. Or what is the relationship with all the preparation we have done and what's coming next?
Well, that's like 4 questions, Jim. Let's do it. Yeah. It's funny, the misperceptions that we still have even to this day is that you leave behind what you've taken on and through the 18 course ACI uh, Sutra and of course Lam Rim. You never, ever will never give it up. You cannot give it up. You cannot ever cease to know there's another unfolding right under what you think you know. And that's a given proof. And we can talk about that because unless you're just suspiciously pretending to smile at me and say, oh, John's catching up to us, give him some time. He's going to be with us any day now. He's got to do a little bit more work on, maybe the mind only school. He doesn't get it. And we're really in a place where we have to dispel the idea that you ever give up the foundational teachings of Lord Buddha that's orchestrated in masterpieces called the ACI 18 courses. And that's a part of your construct in order to enter the Diamond Way. Um, but there is a leap, and the leap is substantial. And there are other components that we know have to come together. Um, when you teach around the world, we're seeing the missing component of a regular practice of meditation. When you ask the people in the audience, how many of you have a regular practice, even online, you know, they kind of they don't want to put their hand up because they know they can't. And that aspect has to be incorporated into any aspect of the Diamond Way. You are now taking ownership on a very deeper level of your destiny. But not only that, you're actually creating a path that you're using the results as much as you are using the causal creation uh, as a simultaneous loop. So very quietly, by the way, all the DCIers who are here, Diamond Way is threaded into many of the most advanced courses of DCI. It's in there if you really want to take a little bit of a longer look on life tool systems of the courses, starting from the beginning, but primarily in the last 8 or 9 courses. There's lots of threads of Diamond Way ideas for you in those courses. So, Geshe Michael is a master of putting something that's profoundly um, expressed in basic language, but it's deeply encoded in your life tool systems of DCI. And he's doing that for a reason. Uh, he thinks that, of course, many of the DCI diehards, the ones that have gone through the courses, they've gotten their certificates, they're being trained. are ready for Diamond Way as well. And so it's there in between the lines. But how do we actually exert it? How do we bring it to a place where financial abundance could be accomplished in less than 3 years, as opposed to 15 years of a career, as opposed to um, investing in whatever you think is going to be the next wave of possible profit, windfall, because we're at a place where people are making fortunes and losing fortunes simultaneously in crypto. Um, could Diamond Way actually be approached from the standpoint that if you took, and I'll use a Geshe Michael example, if you took a Wall Street Journal, New York Stock Exchange slice of paper and had six darts and threw the darts at that paper and it said the Acme Corporation who makes motorcycle wheels, would you trust yourself to say, I've got the seeds in my mind to make that work? And in a way, that's Diamond Way. You've already actualized the idea that what you actually put into the conventional norm of reality as an investment, the certainty of that ripening for a financial stability is there. If we do all the components of a Diamond Way system in a regular, everyday time, you're entering a world of Diamond Way that gives you a vast opportunity to exponentially increase the speed and the design and the driving of your seats. And if you have your seatbelt on with open teachings and the understanding of karma and emptiness, you will ride that into a world that is not what we perceive as normal anymore. And that's another story. But how do you implement a practice that is the components coming together to launch you into a dimension of actually knowing that any moment could be an opportunity to make money in any given day of the week? And it's a matter of waking up to the conscious awareness that I'm going to put my money in here. But it's not about money as much as it is time and caring and taking care of other people. So if we unpack this, we have to kind of look at the big picture. And in the real sense of the word, financial abundance, financial anxiety opens the door to Diamond Way because you need the time to develop yourself in the practices of Diamond Way. You need the leisure to actually come into a Diamond Way world and do the practice. And so we have it all. The house, the house, the fifth house has what will complete your ultimate career. Um, but that's a low goal, by the way. It's not a high goal. It's not. You can make money and then move on to something much more precision made to get out of the goal of conventional um, anxiety. I mean, I don't know why we think that our conventional world is such a mess because we can dance in the chaos. We were talking about that yesterday. Diamond Way is you dance in the chaos. You don't get sucked into it, and uh, and we know how to do that, right? We know how to dance in the chaos. No matter what happens, you dance in the chaos, but it takes more than you realize right now. In my estimation, I didn't know what it was going to take um, when I entered Diamond Way. It was scary, actually, a little bit, right? I must admit.
So, JB, you mentioned this idea of to be able to practice. There is a kind of leisure and fortune that one needs, and that comes with just being any kind of practitioner. And those of you studying, the Lam Rim, the Song of My Spiritual Life, or any other Lam Rim, it's one of the first steps
Yeah.
is having that, is having the time and the capacity in your life, but also in your mind and your heart.
Yeah.
Like you could have a lot of money, but you have no time to practice, or you have no wish to practice. Um, and one of the reasons, you know, that that the Buddha taught the Diamond Way was also for people in the world, you know, people who are living, I don't know, I'm gonna be careful here, but normal lives. Like, people who have families, people who have jobs, people who are engaged in service, or they don't know they're engaged in service, but could change their motivation a little bit. But before we go into that area, JB, you mentioned something about this how the results, we can speed up some of those results through these practices. We can, in a way, we don't have to wait. In the ACI, in the Five Houses Foundation courses, it's actually a little depressing for some people who've come from a more DCI perspective, because it talks about when do seeds ripen, and it basically says, well, most seeds are going to ripen in your next life or the next life after that. Like, they don't even talk about it happening in this lifetime. And of course, there are practices to trigger those kinds of results faster, and we can see them now. And that's what we've mainly focused on. But I also want to talk about you mentioned right now being a little, that there was something a little scary about it. And I don't think we necessarily need to be scared, but I think we need to be prepared for the quickness of ripenings, and what we sometimes call purification, like a whole bunch of negative seeds that may have been, lifetimes of suffering that come out in 6 months, that come out in 2 years, and I know that's been my practice the last couple of years of navigating that.
Well,
And I
the
know you,
gauntlet, isn't it? It's part of the gauntlet of opening up Pandora's box of the subconscious mind in a way.
and I know you've also dealt with some major purifications as well. So how do we, I know a lot of people get frustrated at this point of their practice, where they
Yeah.
think, oh, it's not working. Oh, this is too intense. Like, oh, I've been planting all these good seeds, but all I'm seeing is a bunch of garbage and suffering and pain outside and inside. Um,
Especially if you do your first layer on, it can expedite things that will shatter the dreams and the preconceived ideas that you're going to be in a perfect paradise in 6 months, you know?
yeah, for everybody. So a laboring is a deep meditation practice that when you enter Diamond Way that you commit to. They're about 30 days, 30-ish days of meditation, deep practice, your sadhana, where you're trying to make those transformations. And so I think we are making those transformations, JB, but it's kind of the way the transformation appears is like, it sometimes appears in a very difficult way. So I'm wondering, like, how do you navigate it? How do you think about it? On a level, and then maybe a larger, you know,
Sure.
final transformation level.
Yeah, I mean, every practice that you're doing anyway has a purification aspect, right? So when you begin to unpack, what you know about karma and emptiness, which is essential, by the way, you have your seatbelt on. And essentially, if you've done the 18 courses, you've done your Lam Rim, you've done the DCI system, or all three, you have somewhat of a cognizant awareness of the aspect of karma and emptiness, and that's your seatbelt. That's your, you know, certain planes have a seatbelt that go this way and then this way. And if you have if you have that background, the entry point is it's not like choppy water. It's smooth. But there is a honeymoon period, I would say, when you enter the Diamond Way. It is really very, very cool. And you wouldn't want to miss it in this lifetime. Honestly, this is there's no skull and bones here. It's simply telling you that it is the process of eliminating your obstacles on an exceedingly uh, deeper way. You're going into, as Tim just mentioned, you're going into lifetimes of purification, let alone this lifetime. I mean, I'm twice your age, so the treads of my karmic seeds are still playing out, from my 20s. So it is a multi-dimensional purification, but it isn't something that you have to, ultimately, what's the word? Uh, Succumb to. You don't implode around it because you understand in the deepest level that this is liberating you from, I would say, countless lifetimes. I'm serious that you are purifying a lineage of your own, existence in different forms. And when that process begins, in my estimation and my personal experience and Tim's, the extraordinary power of Tantra also brings you some aspect of an esoteric awareness of something bigger than you are, who is you, something that opens the mind to an extent where the expandable awareness is so spectacular and so lovely to wear in this beautiful instrument and be in this beautiful instrument that you were willing to go the extra mile to make sure that this purification is not just once. You sort of begin the process of I need to welcome it more because I know the result of a 30-day retreat is like nothing I've experienced yet in my life. And so that balance is always going to be there on the Diamond Way system. We are constantly in a flux of rising to this place that you haven't, I'm speaking to myself, I hadn't been there before, but there's also the implosion of just, looking at the drain in your bathroom after 2 years of work of accumulating, this stuff that's hanging off your bathroom drain, and you're cleaning it out, and you're getting a result that is sometimes, in my mind, inexplicable because your mind is just fully engaged in a different awareness, not just temporarily, but processed that it becomes who you are as a diamond practitioner. So when we say using the result path, we did advanced level 5 last 2 months ago. Yeah, around then. Um, Geshe Michael introduced interdependence for the first time in DCI history, as far as I can tell. I mean, I went back looking for it, and he basically proved something that goes back to Nagarjuna, where the result of a seed ripening, a tree ripening in a forest, can only define the cause because it was planted by a seed. So it's like a reverse engineering of the understanding of cause and effect, that the result itself is defining the cause. And that's a very different perspective because it creates an interdependence uh, in our way of acting and being in the world. And so it's something to think about because there's the other part of what he does so well is how opportunities that are implosions in your life that we consider conventionally self-existently tragic. we, we can't separate ourselves from this hardwiring of self-existence, but things happen to us and they're unpleasant and they can even take you out temporarily, honestly, for a week, a day. A bad day in a lay run can take you out for 2 days. A good day will let you sit for 8 or 10 hours a day for like 5 days. You see, it's an exponential factor constantly going on with rising of awareness in a very blissful state of mind and an implosion of a possibility of losing that trajectory. And it's all this wonderful balance that's going on in going deeper and having direct experiences and then falling away and dealing with the purification that has to be done. And we use everything, including the personal tragedies that are going through your life, cleaning this possibility of who you could become through the fire and ice of what we have to look at, of what we potentially own and take responsibility for. And and so even the idea of point something in the room that's not coming from me is attracting a tantric element of that. You own it, you deal with it, and you use it to go deeper. You use everything to go deeper. And it gets exciting and it becomes almost like you want, all right, bring it on. What's my next purification, you know? And and you want, it's like you want it. Come on, you know, bring it on. And that's what we do as practitioners of Diamond Way. But it takes discipline, commitment, hours on the cushion. When you sign up to do Diamond Way, you commit to lay rungs, 30-day retreats, and it's exciting. I mean, you know, it's like a Harry Potter lifestyle. It's it's very cool, right? So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I one of the things, JB, about making that leap, right? About the what you're saying is it takes a lot of courage
yeah,
to to
it does.
be
It does.
not just about committing to self-existent practices. It's about committing to understanding, by the way, the practices aren't self-existent. Don't quote me on that. My apologies.
Watch the chat, Tim.
Yeah. um,
Going to be
but
some things in there.
but what I mean is that making that commitment to transform yourself in the world, is a it's beautiful, it's powerful, and it's also can be very difficult. Um,
On many
and
levels.
yes. And I was thinking about when we're going back to this idea of wealth and the things that bring us actual wealth. One of the motivations that we ask people, we try to constantly teach people is that it's what are you doing with your wealth? What are you like? What's the ultimate destination of your wealth, which arises from seeds, which can also go away as well? And
Correct.
I'm thinking of Geshe Michael's life and how he's gone through periods of having a lot of money and then periods of not having any money at all,
True.
basically. And is that considered, when we go into those places, is that considered a failure or is that something else that's happening? And I wonder what your thoughts are in that and how we can navigate those
Yeah.
ups and downs of the seeds
Yeah.
that are ripening.
When I came out of my 3-year retreat, I had $13,000 in the bank. Like it was like, and that was like, I don't know where it came from. I think it came from a small investment that one of my students made. I think it was, I think I only had like $10,000 in it, and I made a little money. And
JB, just real quickly, could just to remind you, there are interpreters, and
I better slow down.
I got a
Sorry.
message that we need to slow down just slightly.
Okay, so I know I tendency to do that. Yeah, so I thought, well, I was so happy, and I thought, you know, I don't want to work, I'll get a part-time job at Whole Foods and maybe I'll do the bagging of groceries and just, go in, live on a minimum lifestyle. And I had already kind of renounced things in my earlier days, and I wasn't attached to money, but I like money. I like it a lot. I like money a lot, believe me. And I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money. And I gave a lot of money away and I was broke two or three times. I took out, loans. Um, but the level of commitment to knowing that wasn't at all my destiny to make a lot of money. Um, I didn't want to do that after I found my dharmic teachers and my path to both ACI, open and secret teachings. It changed everything radically. It changed everything in this this body and mind. And uh, but it wasn't. But I do not think you have to be what we call Dharma bummish because it's a downward spiral. It is totally a downward spiral. And it's a symbiotic, relationship with yourself to be a needy person and then take advantage in many ways of testing your karma to see if I can sleep overnight at your house or, would John buy me a meal or, it's just, and you're a generous human being. Most of you on this call or on this website or this live stream, you're very generous people. But I think about how my money was made, and I think about all the money that was lost, and it's like, so what? And I challenge myself to say, okay, if there was a global economic, explosive implosion of the economy, and I had to sell whatever I have at this time. Would I be, what would be my state of the mind? That's something you have to think about. Uh, where is the level of attachment to your things and your financial bank accounts? How deep does it go? And I think the Diamond Way can test you on that. It can test you to see the level of your renunciation. And renunciation does not mean that you can't have a billion point five in the bank. You can have $3 billion in the bank and be a complete renunciate. So it has nothing to do with what your private, bank account looks like. It's a state of mind. Um, and I think people that are of that caliber of making that kind of fortune, they also lose a $500 million in any given day in an exchange of a commodities market. And they just go home and say, it was a bad day. And I think we don't need to think that they're not immune to losing fortunes, but they also have a very solid state of mind that it's just an energy that I'll regain next Tuesday, when I go back into the market. So, um, but to not have an understanding that money is an energy that can be used for remarkable good. Um, and it should be thought of as, yeah, it's not my money, it's money that I have created that should be redistributed into the world. And I've seen Geshe Michael be an example of that. Who was running his bank accounts was Jigme, Venerable Jigme, for a very long time. I think she still does it. And she will say, Geshe Michael's like got $3,000 in this account, you know, but he just gave away like $120,000 last month. And, she worries about it. She's kind of hand wringing herself, but he knows exactly the rhythm and pace of his basic seed planting, 300-year plan. So he doesn't worry about any of it. And and look how that works, that he's had zero money, and then he's had, windfall profits constantly in my relationship of knowing him. And, we all kind of like we're part of that, whatever we need to give you, or whatever we need to place in bringing things up to a sustainable level, count me in. So I was a fortunate person to go semi-bankrupt at least twice in the last 25 years to support ALL and to do other things. But I never regretted any of it because I kind of knew intuitively that I'd always have a fail-safe parachute in my practice, and that I knew how to make money if I had to. And I knew basically it wasn't like throwing money in Bitcoin and hoping it went to $100,000. That's a karma. That's a beautiful seed. And you see people around you making that fortune. But there's a different approach to it. And, I am making money. I have money in my bank account. Um, I don't want to say I have leisure and fortune right now because I'm busy and you're busy. And all of you on this call, you're busy. But it, if you do your practice every day for an hour and you do your committed book of the month, emptiness meditation is my plain read right now, which is a remarkable book that, and Tim's book is coming through the channels of possible distribution. If you do the parameter every day, good night book club, if you do the things that are relevant to your life in the culture of what you're about to enter in Diamond Way, your practice every day, your meditation every day, your generosity, what are you going to do today for somebody else? I mean, foundational things. Uh, and then realize the opportunities of giving energy to someone in the form of time or money. Um, the exponential factor in the Diamond Way is beyond imagination. It really is. And, I'm like twice, 2.5 times older than you guys are, and it's weird because I don't feel old at all, but I have old ideas, and I say to my wife, like, we're not saving anything for our old age, like, and she laughs at me. And, she said, you're banking like you can't believe. We're banking in our life with others. And she's right. But it's like, God, like you have to get dental insurance. It's costing us a fortune. And she just laughs at me. She and she just grounds me that way because we shouldn't even think about it, that, whatever, when I get old, well, I'm like past getting old, I'm old. And she's so good for me because I still have that pattern of habitual thinking that there's got to be a self-existent bank account with a certain number inside of that bank account to make me feel secure. And I think we're all like that. But Geshe Michael's like, okay, give that 10%, give that organization $10,000. John, give so-and-so $25,000 because we use their database 70 times a day. And it's just this flow that he's creating these seeds constantly. And that's Diamond Way in terms of energy that's being put back into the world on extremely high karmic objects. And if you do that and you start that amazing spiral, you can sit back and be comfortable that you're never ever going to have an anxiety about money, which we're attached to, by the way. We are attached to it.
So, JB, I have an idea that I think it would be lovely to leave people with a practice that, that I think could help people start getting a flavor for this without breaking the rules. Um, and, just to orient everybody. So again, we're going to be over the next year, 3 or 4 programs left of 5 houses, we're going to be teaching the preparations, all the foundations that you need. And JB said it very well, is that the foundations don't go away just because you're special and you've arrived at Diamond Way. It's not like that. You are special, and the the foundations become your go-to when things go sideways, like when you have purifications, when you're, you know, when you're laying on the couch with a headache, when things are going sideways. Like, how do you ensure that you're doing your book practice, that you're keeping your commitments, that you're thinking about renunciation? And for those of you that have the ears for it, if you've been listening in your DCI courses, if you've been listening in the foundation courses, it's peppered with all of the Diamond Way practices if you hear it. Mm-hmm. So when oftentimes people, when they arrive, they think you are entering into a special world. And then you realize you've been taught it all along. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you said something very powerful, JB, that I think we can guide people to start practicing using the tools that they have already. And you said, by working with powerful karmic objects, that is a way of creating seeds that can not only ripen in a almost in like a fourth flower major transition kind of way, but they also can get them to ripen faster. And so what I wanted to maybe suggest is, one of the practices that we've learned so far in the preparation for Diamond Way is about being suspicious of the people around us, the normal people who appear to us, maybe our partners, maybe the people at the grocery store, the people that annoy us. Those are the most suspicious people, if you have seeds for it. Right. So I'm wondering, JB, if we're doing a 4-step practice to build more wealth, how could we use this practice of being suspicious of other people to elevate the karmic objects around us?
I love that question, Tim. And that's one of the core, I guess, principles of Diamond Way, because we say in, the rhetoric of our times, right, that the open teaching is the worst aspect of your obstacle of all times, is seeing things self-existently. That's the curse, right? In the Diamond Way process, it's just seeing things as absolutely normal. And we're seeing a lot of normal, aren't we, right now in the world? I mean, it's kind of frightening how abnormally normal conventional reality is kind of looking these days. And it's not, you're not taking this into a place of, other realms. I mean, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what Tim just said, going to, the natural grocers, which I love that place because it's very countercultural. It's very hippie. And, you're seeing people with special diets going around the aisle, getting their special foods. And I love that place. And it still has this like countercultural vibe. And I hope they survive. It's very challenging. But if you have the opportunity to actually consciously, um, and it's hard because we're hardwired for normal, to potentially see a break in the matrix of your normal reality, and you take that break and see something that is directly exclusive to you. And it could be a word or a look or a phrase that you heard. I heard something on my flight over here. And I thought, oh my God, who is that person? She said something. And it was like, that's that's a glitch in my matrix. That's not normal. And we deliberately and consciously want to be aware that that's happening all the time in your so-called everyday life. And we're not bringing ourselves to a place yet. Or maybe you are, and I'm just learning it, but we're bringing ourselves to a place where your seeds are starting to open in a direction where normal is the killing point of our existence. That you are going into a path, as Diamond Way, to transform normal. And it's and I bet some of you are doing that because Geshe Michael's talking about it. Where are the messengers of your day? How do you find the message? And and are you listening for the message or being suspicious of someone who may come up and may say something to you that could, for 3 seconds, change your awareness, which happens a lot for us, I think, in the Diamond Way. So when we enter the Diamond Way, that's part of the learning process of turning normal into magical. And everything is magical. So we have Connie and I have little habits. So I have like $51 bills in our glove compartment in our car. And so if we go shopping in Sedona, like Sedona is like, have a private jet port in our town, right? People coming into their fourth house or something to spend the weekend and, they land on the mesa with their private jet. And it's a weird place because the culture has various degrees of financial per capita. And honestly, when you go to a store and you pay $8 for a dozen eggs, there's somebody on the corner always in our neighborhoods looking for something. They have a sign. And so we always have $50 in our glove compartment and just like, okay, let's see who's out there by the Safeway store when we go shopping or we go to the natural grocers and there's always somebody who's living in a dry water system and, to protect themselves. And it's real. There are people like that in the place we live. And in New York, forget it. Tucking $20 bills and people sleeping in cardboard boxes was my ritual for many years. But, we'll say stop the car and people are beeping and we roll down the window and we just like either give them the whole envelope or give them like a bunch of singles, and just watch their like, seed just ripen. And it's one of the most beautiful things, and well, people will say, oh, what about if they just go out and buy booze or alcohol and they're just drunk. Don't do that to yourself. I mean, gauge the judgment of that person in a positive way, and and just small things like that. You can do that, 3, 4, 5 times a day. That's just one example. Bringing somebody to a coffee shop who's really having, purification issues and sitting down, and just being there for them. Uh, it can be transferred into accommodating, a financial freedom. You can morph that precious time into a moment of dedicating it to your future wealth. And we have to make that a habit. It doesn't have to be once every 3 weeks. Look for the opportunities, you know, and then do an act of truth. I used to be able to do it a lot when I was younger. And, here, go to Mongolia with Geshe Michael. Here's a check, $3,000. Get the work done, just do it. And it was so much fun, and I think the cycle is an upward spiral when you see the opportunity, but the pause for 2 seconds pulls you away, and then it's gone. And that you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready for it. And then no thinking, boom, act, do it. All right. here's, $5,000 next week or 6 months from now. And we have to live that way. And it's not the amount of money or the amount of time. It isn't. It's the perception that that person could be someone that you don't think conventionally they are. That just because they're living in a cardboard box in a somewhere in Sedona, down, what appears to be down and out, you cannot see them that way. You see them as an opportunity because you don't really know who they are. And that is a good way to live, you see. And that's everyone in your universe. It's not just the person on the street corner. It's also the person who runs a company. And, you know, we have to get into that place and we have to use the result of the possibility of changing, the seeds to really exponentially increase your wealth and not wait for 6 years. But the other part, Tim, is that you're removing the obstacles in Diamond Way on a rapidly, uh, unbelievable rapid pace. And so to be ready for that is the most important thing. And to purify in the Diamond Way is what's the goal of Diamond Way? To have the Diamond Way perception of emptiness, to have that level of your perception using a Diamond Way system. You know the open way system to see emptiness directly. You're going into a whole other universe of making it happen in this lifetime. The possibility of it is real. And the potential manual, the masterpieces have been written exclusively for you to learn in how to totally get out of this life of suffering and potentially touch the diamond world if we wanted to use that language, right? That's the whole point. And so we utilize everything in the Diamond Way, everything. There's nothing that can't be used for something higher.
I think that's a nice place, JB, for us to pause.
It's
I
fun to
think
talk.
I think the wisdom you've offered us today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for inspiring us. I think there's many of us who are excited about joining, and many of us are excited about like what is the possibility that this different perspective of practice can do for us,
Right.
And do for our world. And I think what I just want to reiterate what you said at the very end is that we use everything as the path. Whomever appears to us, whatever appears to us, asking the question, is this normal? Or could something else be going on? Is there some other message? Is there some other possibility going on if you have different seeds? Right.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
what we're doing is learning how to plant those seeds, right? And it's not about, at the end of the day, wealth comes and goes. Your business starts, your business stops. Your life
Talked
starts.
about that yesterday, actually. It's a reality, and it was a subject that was a big talk around. It was really important to know that, and we're working with that right now over here.
Hmm. And I'm very excited that you're there with the German speaking group. They're a wonderful, wonderful group of
Uh,
people.
uh,
Oh
this-
my gosh, they're all over there. Hi guys.
the diehards arrived.
That's amazing. I'm so excited that they that they changed their schedule to let you have time to reach all of us. So we're very honored that you were here with us, JB.
Good to see you, Tim,
JB,
and it's such a pleasure to hang out with you. I miss you. I
You
miss you
too.
online. I see you in person. But yeah. I want to say too, just to end this, is that we're talking about the tip of the iceberg, right? We're just giving you this dance a little bit here to seduce you a little bit into the possibility of your future. So, there's so much more, right?
And JB is a teacher in all organizations. He teaches for ACI, he teaches for Five Houses. He also teaches the advanced courses as well. So he's teaching all around and can morph into whatever people need. And I think he's a great example of having lived a very, very great life. And the other day, I just want to say, the other day I was looking over at JB. He keeps saying he's twice as old as everybody. But I was looking at him, I'm like, how does he look so young? That was like, how does he do it? And I think there's something in his practice that we should learn what he's doing. Um, and maybe something special is happening
Vitamins, come on. No.
from their own side, I'm sure. So,
Thank you
um,
so much. Yeah.
thank you for joining, JB.
That's a pleasure.
And everybody, we have, so what's coming up is in October and next week, we're going to be having an event in Phoenix, Arizona, where we're going to be diving into the preparations for all of this to get us ready. Lam Steps on the Path is the key for that. And if you would love to come to Arizona, we have spaces left here. Get on a plane, just do it. If you can't afford the price to come in person, but you can afford a flight, we will let you in. Don't worry. Our business model is free. And that's why we survive, because somehow free creates wealth. Get it? So if you would like to come in person, there's plenty of seats left. I know visas are difficult to get, but results path, just, I don't know, figure it out. Coming in person is extremely powerful. If you're not able to come, we also have this online as well. And again, there is a cost associated with our online program. And if you're not able to afford that, just reach out and say, look, Tim, I can't afford this, but I want to come. And I'll say, great. How much can you afford? $0, $5. That's wonderful. And then we'll just give you a scholarship. Again, that's how we build wealth. So if you want to join, and if you know people who want to come who aren't here today, please send us along. The transformational power of these teachings, I can say from my own practice, the amazing results that I've seen and how quickly things can happen. And amazing things can happen. So this is in October, starting next week. We also have in December. Oh, I'm sorry. There's also another. Do you guys have the banner for? Yes. So if you're in Asia, we still have some seats left available for our hybrid event, which is going to be happening in Malaysia. That's being run by Jasmine Yao. And we have two ACI Five Houses senior teachers who will be there, Nicholas Shaw and Sarani Stump. And they will be there leading this program. We'll be broadcasting Geshe Michael's classes in, and they will then be teaching additional classes live. And then you have an opportunity to be with ACI teachers live. If you're not able to make it to the United States because visas are challenging, you can go to Malaysia, which is a much easier place to get visas to enter, because I don't think you require visas from most countries.
Yeah.
So do join us there. I don't see a QR code for that on that slide. So I believe it's on our website. You can look for that. And then finally, oh, there it is. Ha. If you want to join Malaysia, there's the QR code. And then finally, we have our event in Kyoto coming up in December. Huge event. We are expecting about 500 people, again, in person or online. It's sort of our flagship program of the year. People from all over the world to come. People from all organizations come. It's kind of like a worldview summit. where everyone can let their hair down and be themselves. There's no 0.0% policies. We talk the direct stuff in this event. So anyone from around the world can come, and it's a great opportunity for community. And yes, again, thank you, JB, for joining. Up
Thank
here's
you. Bye.
here's more information there. And thanks for joining. And appreciate your time with us, JB.
See you in
And
Phoenix. Thank
see you,
you.
see
Bye.
you, everybody. And Sarah, I think you might have some more announcements.
Yes, yes. Thank you both. It was lovely hearing your wisdom. Before we sign off, could I invite us all to turn our cameras on for a group photo? If you can do that for us with your camera on, emojis high, we would love to take a group photo of all of us together learning Diamond Way business. So here we go. I'm gonna do one here. Group photo time in 3. Yes, perfect. 2, 1. Say cheese. There they go. That's great. Marina, I love it. One more. 3, 2, 1. Group photos. Yay. Thanks, everybody. So we hope to see you in Phoenix and potentially in Kyoto. I hope you got a lot out of our time together today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye now.